Hello YouTubers, I'm going to do my best. The wind's a little bad. Well, that was really good, man. So the wild strawberries, they're either really bad or really good. That one was really good. Definitely none of them are worse than the crap that you can get from stores. So again, I'm super amazed at how quick this dried out. But it's still pretty moist. We put in a squash plant, added some fertilizer to our pecan. I'm considering turning this into a hugelkulture rather than using it as a swale or water catchment. We had frost last night, unfortunately. But luckily for me, sorry I'm blocking the camera, I'm trying to block the wind. We rescued everything, my son did. I was at work at a distribution center on overnights, and he saved the day. We got our greens and manure and lots of brown, probably more brown and maybe not chopped up as good as it should be. But we got it put together, so we're going to let that set for a week, and then we'll start turning it. I've never tried that method of compost before. I've always just thrown everything I have into a pile, and then eventually it starts cooking. Or I'll use it more like vermiculture and just slowly decompose and use the worms. But as you can see, my compost bin was not made of anything really fancy. I just used sticks and branches and crap that I picked up when we bought the place or trimmed off. And so then I'll do some more. I think I make some raised beds or something with some of these bigger pieces. And we still have a lot of this pine needles we've been trying to clean up from the giant pine trees that block all the southern exposure, except for the path that you kind of see there. Ranger the dog's enjoying it. Did find out that I have a couple of peach trees, which is really exciting. And I've been using an app, and I apologize, I don't remember the name of it, but it's a plant identification app. And it's not Leaf Snap. I did not like Leaf Snap. It's a different one. But it's been useful in identifying things. It's telling me that's pokeweed, more than likely. But it's not a guarantee. It kind of shows you pictures of what other people have and guesses. Some of it's fairly accurate. This one, it gave me a couple different ideas. So if you can identify any of this stuff for me, I'd love it. My peach trees that were here when we bought the place apparently really seem to be producing, and I'm glad I didn't cut them down. I chopped a lot of branches off of this one before I knew what it was. So again, the plant app helped me identify my chickweed, which I didn't really understand what that was, and it says this may be a wild comfrey or some other things. So a lot of it just going to be a matter of letting it go and see what happens. That's what I did here. Now we've all been told leaves of 3 leave them be, but strawberries and raspberries and blackberries all start with leaves of 3. Poison ivy doesn't have thorns. This stuff has thorns. So it took a little bit of just letting stuff go. The wild strawberries, and it looks like there's some blackberries coming up over there. I got a bunch of it growing here, but it was so tempting when we bought the place to just dig all this up and clean it all out and, you know, cut everything down, cut all the vines down. It was all bad. And it took a lot of self-control to stop and slow down and just focus on the privet. And I tried to get rid of as much privet as I could. And I did clean up this back area quite a bit, even though you can't tell. I trimmed a lot of stuff off back there and just dropped it. I don't know if you can see through the fence. That's how wet it is back there. So it's kind of an unintentional swale, I think. And we obviously are seeing it on this side, but I tried something and it's maybe working out. I didn't put any root stimulator, so if anybody's got a suggestion for root stimulator, my spare guy, I would love to hear about it. But I started poking the branches that we cut off of the raspberries when we planted them into this wet ground, and obviously not all of them are doing like that one and sprouting. And of course, with the frost last night, they didn't cover all of these because these aren't the ones we planted. This is just an experiment. So before the frost, this one was looking pretty good, but I just stuck them in the ground in this yucky, swampy area. I bought the root balls and you're supposed to trim them. So what I trimmed, I just stuck in the ground there. Now this is interesting. Maybe not on this one. I thought I saw a bunch of the little black bugs that looked like some kind of aphid or something was collecting on a taller one of these dock plants. I'm letting those go to seed because it's an edible green that grows year round. I haven't really begun to harvest it enough yet. Again, I'm trying to just pull up all this privet. I have not found out if it's has any benefits as far as permaculture is concerned. And again, this is all just kind of let go wild, but if I'd have listened to the leaves of 3, you know, all my strawberry that's growing wild here, I would have dug up. And these other wild brambles that I'm hoping are a blackberry or a raspberry, they could just be thorns, though. We're going to have to wait and find out. That's why the patience and observation is fairly important. But I understand the desire to get busy and to get active and to do something. So focus on the things that you know right away. You know, getting rid of stuff that you can identify or things like that. Pond's holding pretty good back here. There's still quite a bit of water here. I'd like to get some rice and try to do this as a rice paddy, as wet as it is. I found that my juiciest strawberries are the ones back here. We've got another raspberry that survived the frost. I threw a bunch of seeds into all this stuff, but I have not seen any sprouts yet. There we go. Here you can see we've got quite a few, enough that we're needing to be out here picking every day. That one wasn't quite ready yet, so we'll just let it go to seed somewhere. That's the nice thing, these are really seedy, so even if you do pick them a little early and they're too seedy, you can just spread them around. So I've been spreading the seeds around. We'll see what happens. But luckily we saved all our peas, and I noticed I have pea pods. Yay. Super excited about that, even if it is just in my box garden here. So I'm leaving this because it is edible. I don't know what it does for the soil, but it's the chickweed. And I have some other little sprouts coming up. I've had to fertilize here because they were all yellowed. And I'm having a bit of an issue with insects starting to eat. And I'm not sure what's doing it. But I think it's ants. So I spritzed them yesterday. We've been putting some orange peel around because the fire ants especially have not favored that. And so I just sprayed some plants to see how it worked, to see if it was preventing, and I don't know that it's working. This one got a little bit of frost burn. And some oregano. Again, just some more of this chickweed growing wild inside the onion there. And so I took each of these boxes and I'm trying to cram as much as I can in them. So I've got a ton of tomatoes in here and peppers and onions, but I'm running into an issue of companion planting because I put a grapevine over here and it doesn't like certain things, and you know, tomatoes don't like this and this plant doesn't like that. So there's a lot of that going on where I'm real concerned about how close things are, and there's nothing that tells me exactly how far something is before it stops being a nuisance or a problem, because tomatoes apparently attract bad bugs for raspberries, and I've got raspberries all over the backyard, but I like tomatoes too, and I have raspberries in the front yard. And so am I never going to be able to grow tomatoes in my yard again? I'm a little confused on that. I got some cotton. I also put in acorns that I found, trying to get them to sprout. They had been sprouting in the woods, and I don't think I buried them well enough to ensure they would sprout more. And I lost a carrot. I got some other little sprouts. My potatoes. Again, I took some tree sprouts, just put them there. Now I have to start identifying things that are growing quickly and see, can I use these as chopping drops? They're obviously not specifically what I want, but again, trying to figure out what I have and how it can be used. So this one has all the little black bugs on it. Maybe I can get a focus. Maybe not. So you can kind of see them. A little black speck. And there's a cluster of them. Right in that node. Again, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. So anyway, these little critters seem to be attracted to this, and I don't know if that's a good thing. So I'm a little concerned about letting all my dock go crazy if it's going to be attracting, but if it's pulling it away from other things, then that's good. So again, I've got lots of stuff popping up that I don't really know what it is. Yeah, look at this one. Those look like aphids, and they are just all over that. So I need to bring in some ladybugs or start making sure that my dock doesn't get... Oh, these are ants all over it too. So maybe the ants are eating the aphids. They're definitely going to town on them. Anyway, this has been a really long and probably kind of boring video. We have fungi. But again, just simple things that we're trying to do. We're slowing water down and making it move where we want it to. But my goal, again, is to hold on to more of it, because right now I'm just getting it off the property. But I really changed that perspective into more of how do I hold on to it, because I know the summers are going to get dry. So this is the other pond I dug out. Lots of clay there. I made a pot and it dried in the sun, but then it rained and melted in the rain. So I'd have to figure out how to secure that a little more. But my water runs down the slope, and so again we've slowed it down some there, but we need rain barrels and some gutters to help capture some of this and hold on to it, because otherwise it just goes all the way out the front and into the drainage ditches and out to the river, which is fine, but we're noticing a lot of sediment, which is slowing the creek down, which isn't horrible, but it tends to then start having algae and attract mosquitoes and other bugs. Mosquitoes are going to be a real issue here, I believe. You can see where my son's been stepping through there. But this was done mostly with just a rake and then a little bit of shoveling, and I feel like when I had to get to the shoveling point, I lost my effectiveness. But it was difficult to get down deep enough, and there was roots. But I definitely don't recommend doing this without the machinery. I just can't get machinery in right now, and like all of you, I'm anxious to be doing something. So fig didn't get too damaged in the frost. It was covered with a blanket, but the little shoots are okay, and I've been leaving them, though some people will tell you not to. I'm leaving them because fig trees tend to bush out, so I'm going to let it bush out. And our project today is we're going to make upside down tomato hangers, because I seeded a whole bunch of tomatoes, and not being confident in that, I went ahead and bought some plants as well. So we're going to seed these and put them in bottles and fill them with some of that free mulch that we got, and see how that works out, and that will be our next update. Stay tuned. Be sure and subscribe, and you can also like me on Facebook, Justin C. Kurtz.